Is it possible to enjoy being single? One of the great revelations to be given to the church is knowing that singleness is a gift from God. Welcome to Embracing the Challenge, Finding Love and Building Relationships with me, Gabriel Chan. Joining me today are Ufuoma, Angela and Lola. Thank you so much for joining me here today, ladies. It's great to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
I'm Ufuoma. I'm currently a CR coordinator. I really enjoy traveling and I love reading and going out to eat.
I'm Angela. I'm a nurse practitioner. I work at a GP surgery in South London. I also enjoy traveling. I enjoy a bit of sport, running, swimming, cycling.
And I'm Lola. I'm a solicitor, but I'm currently taking some time off law to do a bit of creative ministry work, which involves theatre and drama school.
Well, ladies, we've come together today to discuss the topic of, is it possible to enjoy the single life? And having talked to you a little bit earlier, you've got so much going on where you're experiencing your purpose in life, where you're finding fulfillment. Can you just share a little bit about what you love doing in life?
Well, I would say my purpose is to really empower people to live fruitful lives, particularly in Christ, being a Christian. And I've been able to do that through small groups within my church and also a blog I have called Fruitful Living. Check it out. And also just being called to conferences to speak to particularly women about how you can really live fulfilled lives and what that looks like. So those are kind of things I'm really passionate about.
I do believe I'm in a season in my life where the Lord is preparing me for the future ministry that He has got for me. So I'm spending a lot of time with the Lord at the moment, finding more love in Jesus and preparing myself for hopefully the ministry that He has for me with the orphans. It's coming from my past that I also came to the world as an orphan, and I have a passion to make a difference for them, teach them about how I found Jesus, the love of Jesus, and hopefully they will do the same.
Thank you. And you, Lola?
Yes, I'm very passionate about inspiring and empowering women. And I've been doing this through a small group that I lead in my church, which I've led for over 10 years now. And with the girls, we've organized a few small ladies events, one of which was in the local community actually. And the talks, the content includes inspiring topics which inspire women, which help women to be confident in themselves, confident in their style, confident in their personality, confident as a woman, and confident in career and work. That's one of my passions. The other passion is evangelism, which I do through creative means. I myself and a team of people run an event which we call the Reveal Lounge, where we preach the gospel through creative means in the city, in the pubs and bars, and also through theatre.
Wow.
So quite a lot there.
So you all sound like you're fully engaged in a very rich life and rewarded by the different things that you're doing. Now, I want to ask, this is perhaps a question that Lola could focus on, just this idea of pressure. Have you ever experienced pressure from people to be in a relationship? Is that what the kind of narrative is that you've experienced?
To be honest, nothing, well, for people of my generation, nothing actually prepares you for this. I say this because as a little girl, I remember I used to have these books where I would draw a bride and the flower girls, and then I'll write a story about her, and then I'll get another book and start all over again. So I grew up with that mentality, and as most people, that you go to school, you get a job, you get married, and you have children, and then you start planning your children's weddings. So then came my 20s, and I got a job, but then there was no marriage. And I really wanted to get married in my 20s. And so as age 30 approached, I really did not want it to come. I actually remember that night, the night before 30, and looking at the time and then praying that time would just stop and wait for me to meet someone, get married before 30. And I remember when the stroke of midnight came, and boom, I was 30. And I was fine. The world didn't come to an end. I didn't die. I was fine, you know. And from then on, it wasn't so bad. But then there was still the pressure from family, especially with my background, African background. They expect you to be married. And I'm thankful that my mom is not one of those people. She's quite understanding and patient. Her friends, however, are different. They're always trying to matchmake me with one guy after the other, you know, and it's quite ridiculous because when you meet these guys, we have absolutely nothing in common. And you would expect them to at least try to get to know me, get to know him, and matchmake me with maybe someone I had something in common with, but they just wanted me to get married, regardless of, you know, whether or not we had anything in common. But I'm thankful for my relationship with God and my many passions, which have kept me busy over the years, and getting to a place where I had to, where I recognized that my identity is not linked to my status, whether or not I am married, and also the culture that defines single people as being a failure or something to be ashamed of. And so I had to work through that. And
can I just
yes,
pick up on that? Because, I mean, Ufuoma, you've probably faced some of those same pressures in different situations, but how have you discovered areas where you can celebrate achievement and celebrate success for you?
I would say, personally, yes, there's been pressures here and there, but it's been slightly different in the sense that within the generation I'm in, people are really focused on, like, you know, being successful in business, being entrepreneurial, really, you know, diversifying income, doing really exciting stuff. So, you know, that is really deemed as successful as well. And it's something that really encourages me and inspires me to do the same thing. So, you know, it keeps you busy with all these different kind of adventures. But also, on top of that as well, I believe because I have, like, a lot of really great and like-minded people around me, I'm able to express different aspects of a relationship with friends, family, and even work colleagues. So although it may not be particularly romantic, I'm able to really be fulfilled in how I see and view relationships. And the pressures don't seem as evident, or I don't feel it as much, maybe because of that. But I really believe because of having really great quality people around me, we're able to still have those aspects of communication that would be part of a romantic relationship, but it just looks a bit different for now.
Thank you so much, Ufuoma. And Angela, just as Lola was saying earlier on, you know, it's possible for people to try put us into a relationship that perhaps might not be good for us or right for us. Have you ever been in a situation where you've intentionally chosen singleness?
So I was 28 when I re-encountered Jesus in my life, and I was in a relationship at that time, and it was already a 3 years relationship. And this man didn't want to follow Jesus with me, so I faced the decision whether I will go with him or whether I will choose Jesus and become single from a 3 years relationship. And I did choose singleness, and I did choose Jesus with that.
Wow. It's a powerful story. Now, ladies, just in this context, can I ask, do you find that it is easy to have relationships with men, whether that's in the church or with in workplaces?
I personally think it is. I think when you are intentional with a relationship with God and you understand who you are in God, and that obviously that comes through time, you're then comfortable and confident in yourself, and not every man you speak to or someone you might be attracted to is your potential boyfriend or husband. You just see it as genuine relationships, genuinely getting to know somebody. So personally, I don't find it a particular issue, because I realize that as I consistently just build a relationship with God, I'm able to freely do things. I'm not restricted by my thoughts and desires. I'm able to control that and just have normal conversations like you would with anybody else, Christian or not Christian, and just see and just get to know that person for who they are. And I think from my experience, I've been able to genuinely meet people that I might not have thought would have a connection with. So yeah, I find it fairly easy, personally.
Same here. I've got a few friends who are men, but at work and in church and neighbors, and we have great relationships. Ironically, I think I get along really well with men sometimes. And yeah, and that's it, yeah.
And you, Angela?
I do find there is a little pressure in there as time goes by, coming up to late 30s, early 40s, having relationship with men, having friendships with men, whether that will lead to further relationship or not. And obviously not all of them will do, but I find sometimes there is a pressure that, yes, we are in our early 40s, we should get to that point. And
yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes we're having a conversation with ourselves when we meet new people and trying to figure out could they be the one, and sometimes it can be a bit stressful. So tell us a little bit about how you've differentiated between being alone and being lonely.
Okay, so growing up as a child, I recall that I found myself alone a lot, and I enjoyed it. And I remember I used to be called a loner. Many people refer to me as being a loner. And strangely, I remember thinking about age of 15 that I wonder if God is trying to tell me something. Maybe when I grow up, I'm going to be on my own. You know, it's amazing that that thought actually did cross my mind. And then 2 years later, I left home. I've been away from home for over 20 years now, and I've been alone. Now, I enjoy being on my own. It's great because I have so many things I'm passionate about. It gives me the chance to get on with these things and to do them, and I love them. I love going to the theater, so I've gone there by myself. I've gone to the cinema by myself. I've gone to the restaurant by myself. I have fun doing these things. I enjoy it. However, there are some moments when you can feel lonely. For example, when I lost my brother, it was my friend. And it was a very difficult time for me. And it reminded me so much that I was all alone, and I really felt alone. But it was amazing having friends around me. My small group in church all rallied around me. And it was amazing. And but apart from those moments like that, I actually do enjoy my company. I enjoy being on my own. It's fun. So much so that I actually worry about when I do get married, you know, what is it going to be like when I want my space, you know? Because like I said before, I've had situations where people have tried to matchmake me with people, and I'm like, for me to get married, it has to be someone I truly love, because my privacy is something I really enjoy, and if I'm going to share it with someone, it has to be someone I really want to share it with.
Thanks so much for sharing that personal story, Lola. And you, Ufuoma, what do all of the relationships that you mentioned earlier, how do they benefit you in this space of being alone?
So how I see alone is all one with God. That's how I define alone. And I think I know I am an extrovert as well as an introvert. So I'm an extrovert in the sense that, like, I love hosting games nights. I'm kind of there, kind of talking and stuff like that. And I have great friends. And as I mentioned, we travel, we do a lot together. We eat, go to the theatre. I'm very much out there, and also I lead a few things. So I do enjoy that aspect. But at the same time, I think in order to do that, I have to be alone with God. And there is times that I've felt lonely at times, and then I think this is where it's important to be open and honest with those around you, because that's what really defines quality relationships, when you can be open with the people around you, like what Lola mentioned, having those small groups to really rally around. When I've had times of feeling lonely or feeling like, oh goodness, like who's out there for me, I've been able to really express that very openly to friends, and they've been able to really pour into me. So it's important to not feel embarrassed or silly about things. Marriage is something I desire. I do believe I'll be married. However, it's something that until that happens, that I want to be as open and accountable to those who I trust and around me. So. And share those feelings with. So, because it's always great to be out there laughing, having fun, but at the end of the day, in reality of life is that things do happen, and you know, we do battle with these feelings. So it's important to be open and express those feelings as well.
Yeah, I hear that. I think it's so important to remember that our friends around us, sometimes you can be single and have a married couple and think, I don't want to do married people stuff, but having the opportunity to go and connect with them and have them pour life into you, or maybe there's a group of friends that are doing something and you might be tempted to say, I just want to stay home alone. But taking that step and engaging with people so often leads to opportunities and moments where you get blessed and encouraged by the people around you.
Yeah.
Now, in the biblical perspective, singleness is seen as a gift. I think that we can sometimes miss that Paul actually said singleness is better in certain contexts than marriage. And I think the point that he's trying to make is to show us that there are opportunities that we have as single people that we don't necessarily have in other contexts. Opportunities to get to know God, opportunities to grow in our wholeness in him, opportunities to serve and be involved in different contexts in different ways. Do you think of singleness as a gift in those senses?
It depends. For the season, yes. Indefinitely, I'm not sure that is for me. There have been times when I've wondered, and I have actually asked God. I've said, look, I'm actually happy on my own. I do enjoy being on my own. So if I'm not meant to get married, just tell me. I'm okay with it, And there have been times when I have decided, made a decision on my own that, you know what, I'm not going to get married. I'm just going to be on my own and just get on with what I need to do. And but I felt the Holy Spirit not happy with me at those moments. It's almost as though, what I felt him revealing to me is that you've made this choice not because I've told you you're going to be single, but you've made this choice because of unbelief. And God does not, unbelief is sin. He does not like that. I believe that he wants me anyway, to carry on believing. Whether or not it happens, he wants me to carry on believing. Almost like the people in the Hebrews 11 Hall of Fame, they believed all the way through to the end. And that's where I feel that I'm at. And so.
And I hear that. And what you were saying right at the beginning, the benefit of being single right now. I mean, I love being part of this conversation because for me, there was a good long 8 years when I was single looking to get married, and coming to a place of being okay with that was quite an interesting journey. I think, learning the difference between being an extrovert and being an introvert. For me, I'm an extrovert, and so I love being around people. My issue was then that I was filling my life with so much stuff. Being at different events, having parties, hosting different things. And in a sense, I was just so full of life that there would have been no space for anyone significant in my life at that point in time. And having to come to a place where I was okay with surrendering some of those things to make room for a loved one was quite a process for me. And it can be a temptation. On the other side, Becca is very much an introvert, and like you were saying, she loves her own personal space, and so for her to let me into her personal space was quite a challenge for her, and to allow me to be someone that she was seeing regularly and so on was a journey for her as well. Now, if you were to think about the future, what are your dreams and aspirations? You, Angela?
So for me, I've always been very family-minded because, as I mentioned earlier, I was adopted into a family. It didn't really work out. There was no love, no affection in the family. So from a very young girl, I always wanted to be a mother, always wanted to have children. And that was my dream from young age. And coming into God's love, meeting Jesus, he revealed to me that this is what I will be doing. I will be working with orphan children, I believe. And I always imagine that this will happen in a family scenario, where there will be me, the mother to the children, and there will be my husband, who will be the father to the children. So for many, many years, you mentioned about 8 years you were waiting for Rebecca. For me, it's coming up to 13 years now. And for 13 years, I've been waiting for this man to come along. and be the father to those children that the Lord called me to be a mother to. But this man hasn't turned up yet in my life, so I decided that I'm going to follow my dreams, and I will just seek opportunities to go out there and start working with orphans. And I have got a door open at the moment in Uganda, so I'm focusing on very much at the moment. And I do believe just to start the work on my own, and I do believe one day the men will come along. But for now, I'm happy to follow my dreams on my own.
And I think that's so key, to find who we're called to be and our purpose, and then to start to walk in that with God. And when we're about doing the Lord's business, he can make a way for someone to come in, or he can be the one that supports us through that time as well. So if we were to think about the church, what do we hope to hear from the church? What kind of support would you like to have there? Lola?
Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, for me, growing up as a little girl, I had this view of the future, fairy tale future, you know, go to school, get married, have children. But it's not like that in reality. And I think there should be more talks for people to encourage people right from the young age all through that. There's that possibility that you might not get married. And it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. I believe that at the beginning, it was probably God's plan for everyone to get married. But, you know, since the fall, that's changed. And as you mentioned about Paul, who happens to be my favorite person in the Bible, by the way. and so because of that, I always wondered if maybe I'm meant to be a single person like Paul was. I think from the church, there should be more talks for people, encouraging people in that season, and also letting people aware that there's a fact that you might not get married and it is fine. And this should be from a very young age as well.
And I think that's so powerful, because we really do need to change the narrative. I mean, the constant questioning of, you know, when are you going to find someone?
Yes.
I think that should be replaced with, you know, how can I encourage you? How can I bless you in what you're doing for God right now? And Ufuoma, what do you think about men? Maybe men in the church. You know, have you got a message to them?
Well, I would say don't be weird about things. Don't be weird, because I just feel that sometimes we can over-spiritualize things. Just having a chat with, you know, someone from the opposite sex can seem like it's like something that is bigger than it's not. So don't be weird. Just have normal conversations.
Do you think that's a feature? I mean, you kind of know guys professionally in a worldly context, and then guys in the church. Do you find that there's quite a difference?
Yes, definitely. And I think it might be because of the pressures that Christian men within the church put on themselves. I don't know. But, you know, obviously being a professional working outside of the church, guys just go up to you and have a chat with you, speak to you. If you're not interested, you say, see you later. If you are, you might continue the chat. But it's just about not being weird about it, and just being open and just having normal, genuine conversations. And I think sometimes, not all guys in the church, but they can overcomplicate things or think too much into it and think, oh, but she might think this and that. But I think if you're just open, straight to the point, you don't really have anything to worry about, especially if you're coming with genuine intentions. Just don't be weird. Yeah.
And just to add to that, you can't really blame the guys, though, because when there have been some women that the minute a guy starts talking to them, in their mind, they're already making wedding plans, you know? So because of that, men are a little bit. So I think what we need to encourage, maybe perhaps even through the church, is the just coffee moments.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee is coffee, right?
Coffee is coffee. It's just coffee.
Yeah.
It's not more than that. And so you can have just coffee with so many women at the same time, and they understand that you're just having coffee.
And just to pick up on a point, I think that's where it comes to just being open.
Yes.
I think if a guy just says, hi, you know, I've seen you, it would be great just to get to know you. I think when a guy is doing his part and being open, I don't think it's his responsibility to kind of dictate, oh, she might think this and that. Because if the woman does think that, that is more on her. I think if the guy has from the start been open and is accountable in the sense of, oh, I'm interested just to get to know somebody, then just do it. I don't think it's down to men to also put the pressures of how some women might kind of go into fairy tale.
But what would you say, just to wrap up this episode, what would you say to someone who's struggling with singleness?
Enjoy the moments. you know, because there's going to come a time when you will be married with children, and there's so many things that you can do now that you might not be able to do then, or you will struggle to do then. Yeah. And make a note of everything that you're going through. I mean, for me, for example, I lead a small group of women, and single, married, widow, divorced, and I'm able to mentor and counsel them through my experiences in partnership with the Holy Spirit. So enjoy it and make the best of it. Use it.
Angela?
Yeah, I would second that. While we are single, there is nobody else in our life. It's just us and the Lord, and making the most of it, that we are able to get up early in the morning, spend time with the Lord. There are no children running around. When we are married, we will not be able to do that. And really just to deepen our love, our relationship with the Lord while we are still single, and just embrace this moment.
And you, Ufuoma?
Very similar to Angela. Be intentional with God. Really important.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us to share your stories here today. And to you out there, perhaps you've heard something that has encouraged you in your season of singleness. Maybe there's been a moment of identification, perhaps even a moment of healing. And we want to encourage you to keep moving forward, keep looking to the relationships that God has placed around you as opportunities to flourish and to grow. Well, thank you so much for joining us here this week on Embracing the Challenge. We look forward to seeing you next time.